Hello and welcome to our short little video, a case video review of the case of Dr. Hari Krishnan and another versus Megat Noor Ishak bin Megat Ibrahim and another appeal 2018 3 ML.J 281. So play the video by Ayman and Sirajuddin. So as accordingly of this case, it's a famous case in regards to medical negligence. But before that, I want to introduce our favorite madam towards our fighters today. Choose your fighter, Siraj or Ayman. So Siraj is myself and Ayman T is a brother. And are you ready for the next part of the phase of the games? This is just going to be an infographic and sharing regarding this situation of the case of Megat Noor versus Hari Krishnan and Dr. Nemei. So, are you ready? So, introduction of this case involves a medical negligence claim. The main parties involving are Dr. Hari Krishnan, a specialist ophthalmologist, and Dr. Nemei, an anesthetist, and Megat Noor Ishak, a plaintiff. The case examines the standard care in medical negligence. So the plaintiff had suffering a singular medical issue on his eyes, and the issue was regards towards something in which he couldn't perform his duties properly. He was a working class citizen and he was just a normal man. So what happened to him was that he had a giant retinal tear with a detachment with his right eye. So in this situation, he referred towards Dr. Hari Krishnan and made a first consultation with him on this matter. So what happened in this situation was that Dr. Hari Krishnan advised him to go for immediate medical surgery, and at that time it was just a surprise to Mr. Megat in the sense that, oh wow, a surgery this fast and this soon. So he was taken aback what happened to him. So this case, it was specifically focusing on the duty to inform patients of risks and associated with medical procedures and the responsibilities of medical procedures of the professionals during the surgery. The claims that was founded by this situation in which the retinal tear in which his eye had occurred to Mr. Megat Noor was advised by Dr. Hari Krishnan that he should go for an immediate surgery, and it was performed at a private hospital. After the first operation, the plaintiff experienced severe pain and pressure in his eye. In this situation, he felt something that he couldn't relate and something that was not unheard of for him. He didn't feel right in his eye and mind and head. And afterwards, Dr. Hari Krishnan recommended a second operation due to the retinal fold detected on his right eye. So, from one right eye operation to another, that was the advice that was given to him. So, he just felt it was off, and Mr. Megat Noor, rightfully so, he requested a scan to confirm this. And given that Dr. Hari Krishnan deemed that it was unnecessary for it, and so for the second operation, he sought another opinion. He wanted Dr. Manabalan for his first anesthetist of the situation to be with him and also to advise him on the next situation. But afterwards, Dr. Hari decided no, it's better to proceed with Dr. Nemei because it was assured by Dr. Hari Krishnan of Dr. Nemei's competence as an anesthetist to help assist in the situation. So they proceeded with a second surgery. And afterwards, what happened from the second surgery, what unfolded and what occurred was something unexpected. So there was complications that arose for the plaintiff, and he regained consciousness and bucked himself during this procedure. On the grounds that if you're in a surgery, you're supposed to be unconscious. But in this situation, I would say from the inference made that Dr. Nemei didn't properly anesthetize himself, Mr. Megat Noor, for the situation. And it led towards a suprachoroidal hemorrhage, SCH, and a permanent blindness in his right eye due to it. The plaintiff then filed a lawsuit against Dr. Hari, Dr. Nemei, and the hospital for the alleged negligence that was made by the parties involved, on the grounds that had they been properly prepared and not in a rush, it would have not occurred in a total blindness of his right eye that he had lost. and given that it would impede his further activities and make his career and life problematic for himself and his family. So himself and his family, Mr. Megat, decided to pursue a legal claim. The incident occurred in 1999 and then completely concluded on 2010 and was revised after all the appeals and other appeals till 2018. So it's a long-standing case, this situation of Megat Noor and Dr. Hari Krishnan. So I'm going to read to you what's going to happen next in this situation after his complications, what really happened. So what happened next for Megat and his claim? To answer this question, we have to know who the parties involved. Megat Noor is the plaintiff, Dr. Hari Krishnan is the defendant, Dr. Namazi is also the second defendant, and the third defendant would be the hospital in which they all conducted the surgeries. So the timeline of events was that there was a legal action that was filed against Dr. Hari, Namazi, and the hospital. The claims were medical negligence resulting in permanent harm. In the situation, the permanent harm was the blindness of his eye that he had lost, in which there was just a little dichtomal issue. And yes, currently, Mr. Megat Noor has lost his eye due to their negligence. So, what was ruled in favor of the courts and what happened to the situation? Well, the courts had made the first ruling on the situation, the High Court to be exact. The judgment was all three defendants were found liable for negligence, and the damages awarded towards Mr. Megat Noor was 200,000 in general damages, 1 million in aggravated damages, and 8,000 in special damages. These were the damages that were awarded to Megat Noor for his grievances that occurred to him, for his lost eye, and also the pain that he suffered during the situation and operation that occurred. Due to the grievances, he was awarded this much. The damages 200,000, 1 million, and also 8,000. So it's a large amount of damages that he got to claim. Almost nearing 1,208,000 ringgit. 200. So 1.2 million ringgit roughly. So the rationale of the High Court was that the negligence, the failure to warn about the risk of bucking and blindness in the situation, and the standard of care of breach expected of standard medical professionals. It was ruled that given that Dr. Hari Krishnan and Namazi failed to give the warning about the risks of the bucking and the blindness in that operation, and due to the fact that age of Megat Noor played a factor in leading to blindness, even though it was a minute and small percentage, they should have warned and given the situation a heads up towards Mr. Megat Noor. And they made an appeal towards the High Court. The appellants were Dr. Hari and Namazi. The arguments, the challenge of findings, and the quantums of the damages that was ruled in favor of Megat Noor. And the court appealed. They held the High Court's judgment and decision. So afterwards, the Court of Appeal made such a ruling. They made another appeal to the Federal Court, and the Federal Court also, the same applicants were Dr. Hari and Namazi, and they reiterate the previous arguments, question negligence and the damages on the grounds that the situation, the Federal Court dismissed the appeals of the parties and gave the rulings as such as provided by the High Courts, upholding the lower court's decisions that were made on the medical negligence and also the failure to warn. So the standard of breach of duty on the professional medical efficacy was upheld. So from this situation, what can we say from the facts of the case of this situation? The opinion of surmising the entire case of Megat Noor and also Dr. Hari Krishnan and Namazi, we can observe the persistence of the appeals made by defendants, but we can also say nonetheless that it shows that any proven medical negligence will be taken as a serious offense and be punished accordingly, and the damages awarded towards the parties shall be deemed fair in the sense of the losses incurred, given that Megat Noor went for a specific eye issue, a dichtomal issue, and at the end wound up lost his right eye, loss of vision, loss of impairment, and he can't perform. And he wasn't warned of the failure of the bucking and also the issue and the blindness that resulted due to it, on the grounds that it was just only a minute reason. So if people were just to be stating, medical professionals stating that, oh, there's a small risk or chance, it would be proper, but then they did not perform such way. So in the facts of the case, this is a storyline of Megat versus
explanation of the case from my teammate, which is Siraj. And now we're going on to the legal issue, which is whether the appellants breach their duty of care towards the patient, resulting in harm. Okay, so we're going on to the judgment and rulings of the federal court's analysis. So according to the federal court's analysis, is first of all is standard of care. So the court re-examined the standard of care required from the appellants. It reaffirmed the bottom test, which states that a doctor is not negligent if he acts in accordance with a practice accepted as proper by a responsible body of medical professionals skilled in that particular art. So for the second one is application of the Bolito addendum. The court also applied the Bolito addendum, which requires that the professional opinion be capable of withstanding logical analysis. This ensures that the practice adhered to by the appellants was not only common but also reasonable and logically defensible. So moving on to the third analysis of the federal court is evidence and expert testimony. So the federal court scrutinized the evidence and expert testimonies presented in the lower courts. It assessed whether the high court correctly appreciated the expert opinions regarding the appellant's adherence to the standard of care. So for the fourth federal court analysis, which is causation, the court truly evaluated the causation element, verifying if the harm suffered by the patient could be directly attributed to the actions or omissions of the appellants. And for the fifth analysis of the federal court, which is damages awarded, the federal court reviewed the quantum of damages awarded by the High Court and upheld by the Court of Appeal. It assessed whether damages were proportionate to the harm suffered and consistent with precedents in similar case. And so, the federal court upheld the decisions of the High Court and the Court of Appeal, finding that the appellants did breach their duty of care. The harm suffered by the patient was a direct result of the appellant's negligence. The damages awarded were justified and in line with established legal principles. So altogether, there are three decisions of the High Court and the Court of Appeal that the Federal Court had upheld. And so that's all for the Federal Court's analysis. Okay, so going on for the second part of my case review, which is legal principles and precedents. So for the first precedent, legal principle, my bad, is the Bolam test. Okay, so what is the Bolam test? So a Bolam test is basically situations which involves the use of special skill or competence. So in for the Bolam test is the what's it called? It is a test that was made from the case of Bolam and Friend Hospital Management Committee. Okay, so we're going for a brief explanation of the case. So in this case, the judge ML.J stated that the reasonable man is the man in the street or the man on top of the Clapham omnibus. So, however, if the defender purports to have a special skill, ML.J stated further, the test is the standard of the ordinary skilled man exercising the professing to have the special skill. A man need not possess the highest expert skill. It is well established law that it is sufficient if he exercises the ordinary skill of an ordinary competent man exercising that particular art. In the case of a medical man, negligence means failure to act in accordance with the standards of reasonably competent medical man at the time. So that is the case for the Bolam test, and we're going to the second one, which is the Bolito addendum. So for the key for the principle of Bolito addendum, we are taking the principle from the case of Bolito and City and Hackney. Okay, so in this case, the court not bound to hold defendant not liable just because a number of medical experts agree with him. The word responsible used by ML.J in Bolem shows that the court has to be satisfied that the exponents of the body of opinion relied on can demonstrate that such opinion has a logical basis. Yeah, even though there exists a body of professional opinion sanctioning defendant's conduct, the defendant can still be held negligent if it cannot be demonstrated to the judge's satisfaction that the opinion principle is also approved in the case of Penny Palmer and Cannon versus East Kent in that case. So in that case, this principle was approved. Other than that, there is also a standard of care for doctors. This standard of care is a standard of care that is specially for doctors, which has three elements in it. Which is the first one is duty to disclose risk. The second one is duty to diagnose. The third one is duty to treat. So in this standard of care for doctors, the first element, which is duty to diagnose, which is the Bolem-Bolito standard. The second one is duty to treat, which is using the Bolem-Bolito standard also. And the third one, duty to warn, is using the Rogers and Whittaker, the patient-centered standard. Okay, so that is all for the legal principles and rules that are used in this case. Okay, so going on to the second last part of the case review, which is the relevant laws and statutes. So the relevant laws and statutes that are being used in this case is the Medical Act 1971. So what does the Medical Act 1971 talks about? So basically, the Medical Act 1971 talks about it governs the practice of medicine in Malaysia and establishes the standard of care required from medical practitioners. And for the second relevant laws and statutes, which is the Civil Law Act 1956, and in this act, it provides the legal framework for tortious claim, including negligence. Okay, so that's for the relevant laws and statutes that are being used in this case. So we're going to my bad. So just now was the third last of the case review. So we are going to the second last of the case review, which is impact and significance. So the impact and significance for legal professionals is this case reinforces the importance of adhering to established medical standards and practices. It underscores the necessity of logical, reasonable and defensible medical opinions in court. Okay, so for the second impact and significance is for medical professionals. So for medical professionals is the ruling highlights the critical need for meticulous care and adherence to professional standards. It serves a reminder for the potential legal consequences of negligence. So basically, the impact and significance that is given to the medical professionals is they have to pay more attention and be more careful in what they are doing and by treating their patients, so that there won't be any lawsuit to be sued against them if they are being careful and they know what they are doing to their patients. If not, there will be a lot of consequences that will be faced by the medical professionals. Okay, so for the next impact and significance, which is precedent for future cases. So the case sets a significant precedent for future medical negligence claims in Malaysia. It clarifies the application of the Bolem test and Bolito addendum, providing a robust framework for assessing medical negligence. So basically, this case can be a legal precedent for the next following medical negligence cases. So it can be a good legal precedent, a good case can be a good case to be referred in the future cases. So going on to the last impact and significance, which is the benefits for lawyers and doctors. So for lawyers can rely on this case to argue for or against the standard of care and causation in medical negligence cases. Doctors can use this ruling to understand the legal expectations and ensure their practices are in line with defensible medical standards. Okay, so that's all for the impacts and the significance of this case. And last but not least, and finally, we are going to the conclusion of this case, which is the case of Dr. Hari Krishnan and versus Megat Noor Ishak bin Megat Ibrahim and another appeal serves as a landmark judgment in the realm of medical negligence in Malaysia. It reaffirms crucial legal principles and provides a clear guideline for both legal and medical professionals. The detailed examination of facts, application of established tests, and through analysis of expert testimonies made this case a cornerstone in Malaysian tort law and valuable reference for future cases involving medical negligence. And therefore, we have come to the end of our case review. So thank you so much to Dr. Puteri Nemei for listening to me and my teammate Muhammad Sirajuddin's case review. So that's all from us. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.